What if I told you that today I'm exposing the entire Indianapolis Colts organization, and more specifically, how Colts GM Chris Ballard's leadership, or lack thereof, isn't just setting Anthony Richardson back, it's jeopardizing the future of the Colts as a whole. And this story isn't just about a benched rookie. This is about broken promises, wasted potential, and the warning signs that every NFL fan should see. If you're a football junkie like I am, this is the kind of truth that you have to hear, because if you're not tuned in, you're missing the untold story of why this team might be stuck in a cycle of mediocrity, even with a young and talented quarterback who many compared to Josh Allen coming directly out of college. Today, we're breaking down why Ballard's bold promises sound more like empty words, and how the Colts risk losing a franchise player if they don't make massive changes. Stay with me. And this is not the type of breakdown that you're gonna see in the media, and it's one you simply can't afford to miss. Let's start by looking at the promise Anthony Richardson held coming into the league. This guy was a physical powerhouse in college. Although he only played 13 games, he still had measurables like 4.43 speed, a cannon for an arm, and standing at 6'4", basically a modern day prototype QB. It's no wonder that the Colts jumped at him at the 4th overall pick, even with an understanding that he was raw and would need time to develop. This is why today I'm making the case that the worst thing that you can be in the NFL is confused. Richardson's strengths weren't just theoretical, they were absolutely game-changing. He could make throws on the run, break tackles, and the Colts hoped that it would ignite an often stale and stagnant offense. After years of struggling to fill Andrew Luck's shoes, Indianapolis saw him as the solution and a new face who could more than bring them back to relevance. When Chris Ballard was brought in by Jim Irsay, Irsay said, quote, "I really feel, to me, Chris is the best candidate for general manager that has come about so far in the 21st century." Now, I want you to take a look at that Colts team and ask yourself, after he hit on Shaq Leonard and Quentin Nelson, what else Chris has done to deserve a title as strong as that? And that is where the institutional failure begins. Now, everyone deserves grace in that organization for getting the Andrew Luck retirement completely dropped on them out of nowhere, but for Ballard's subsequent response to a long-term solution to replacing Luck, starting off with 39-year-old Phillip Rivers, then trading 1st and 3rd round picks for Carson Wentz, and in 2022 signing the firecracker at 37 years old in Matt Ryan. How the fans left him off the hook on that one, I will literally never understand. If you're a Colts fan, there's literally no way that you are not extra pissed off with the fact that Ballard has continued to double down on that plan up until picking Richardson, saying that it's not an exact science to pick quarterbacks in the 1st round. But you and I both know that it's totally unacceptable to think that the group of Rivers, Wentz, and Ryan was going to fix that problem long term. Now let's talk about the coaching issues that tie directly back to Ballard. Obviously, he brought in Shane Steichen to lead the offense, hoping that his experience with mobile QBs would translate to Richardson. However, Steichen's offense has struggled to find their identity, often leaning on Richardson's legs rather than building a balanced attack. For an organization that says that they are principally focused on making sure that Anthony protects himself at all costs and gets down, goes out of bounds, slides to protect himself after he had a season-ending injury last year, Steichen's play calling seems to be doing the opposite. It's put Richardson in uncomfortable situations, throwing him into high-risk moments and decisions. Richardson needs a system that builds on his confidence, yet Ballard's inability to secure reliable veteran offensive weapons has left Richardson more than vulnerable to injury. And in Mike Silver's piece in The Athletic, which I highly recommend you check out, Silver's critique says that Ballard's high-risk choices are costing Richardson's valuable development time. This is one of those situations where you have almost no choice but to bench him as a mercy benching. Things are going badly there fast. And his benching isn't just a personnel move, it should be a wake-up call for the entire organization. Benching a young quarterback with as much promise as Richardson isn't a good look, just like it wasn't a good look when he pulled himself out of the game, which I totally hated and didn't agree with, especially on a critical third down against a division opponent. Benching him, unless it's very clear to the rest of the world and to Richardson that they have not given up on him, this does not instill any confidence in his future there, and they seem to be doubling down on the same exact old man quarterback, try to fix everything strategy that has not worked for many years. Right now, if I'm Richardson, I need to know how you are going to support me moving forward, because right now you are risking Richardson's full trust in the organization, and we historically think of Indianapolis as well run, but after losing Bill Polian, it is clear that dysfunction is everywhere, and Ballard should be held accountable for failing to keep his promises. As a general manager, one of my biggest critiques is that he literally seems to be one of the few in the position who is not stepping away and taking a 30,000-foot view, and not only just planning for now, but also planning down the road. He has a horrific track record at doing that, and these are just only a few of the things. And for the one established guy on offense who is an absolute stud, Ballard risked completely alienating him by the way he handled his contract situation. It created a tension that affected the entire team dynamic. And the last thing that Anthony needed last season was chaos at your best position and what a lot of people consider to be the established leader of the franchise before Richardson showed up. We know that a solid run game is a young quarterback's best friend, and it helps to take the pressure off, obviously to open up the passing game. Instead, Ballard left Richardson exposed, forcing him to shoulder a larger role and miss out on developing a rhythm with an RB1 from the get-go. And right now, I'm grasping at straws to understand what Ballard has done besides just be all talk and making excuses every step of the way. There is no doubt that he has missed key opportunities. Richardson was promised a stable, supportive environment to develop, but Ballard's decisions have delivered the opposite. And Irsay is just as guilty for allowing it to go on. It is clear that Irsay has completely fallen in love with Ballard's charisma, which is understandable and a reason that a lot of fans have given him a pass for a long time. Chris Ballard has massively failed at delivering on the assurance that Richardson would have absolutely everything he needed to succeed. He took over, he made it clear that he was going to build this team around a strong offensive line. And yes, he invested heavily in bringing in names like Quentin Nelson and Ryan Kelly, but the line's performance has been inconsistent at best, largely because of Ballard's lack of attention to depth. You've got elite players like Nelson who have struggled with injuries, but there's nobody serviceable to back them up. It is almost impossible for Richardson to thrive. After Ballard's oversight left him a line that ultimately hasn't lived up to its hype, Richardson has been hit far too often this season, already facing a ridiculous amount of pressure on his dropbacks. And this isn't just a protection problem, this is a reflection of Ballard's failure to address roster holes. Don't even get me started on looking at the lack of receiving weapons. Ballard has made a half-hearted effort at bringing in veteran guys, obviously with the exception of Michael Pittman Jr. Beyond him, there's very little depth. Richardson needs a steady wide receiver too, who knows how to support a young quarterback and not just expect once again the oldest guy in the room in Joe Flacco to come and save the franchise. Colts' biggest issue right now is Chris Ballard's unwillingness to adapt, and the fact that he is so likable has allowed him to skirt accountability for far too long. And these are basic fundamental things that a general manager has to get right, especially when dealing with the fragility of a young quarterback's career. You don't want to make an investment in the 4th overall pick only to surround him with a lack of institutional stability and knowledge for how to build a football team. The stakes are so high, and if the Colts don't turn this around, we could see another young QB not thrive until he gets to a second well-run organization, or just to completely fall out of the league.
That's what quarterbacks need. They need to have somebody that has their back and allows them to develop and progress. And we're not getting that in the NFL right now. I mean, look at all the young quarterbacks over the last 3 years that were taken. They're not even with the team that drafted them.
Now tell me in the comments, do you think Ballard deserves to stay? Should we continue to give him more rope? Or is it time for Jim Irsay to step in like he has many times, regardless of how bad it looks to the outside, regardless of how chaotic Irsay makes decisions? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're ready for more of these type of breakdowns about the rest of the NFL, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell. You will not want to miss what's next. And I appreciate you stopping by. I will see you next time.